What's up, Royal Spartan Tribe? This is Royal Spartan 125, back for yet another great reaction. This is three creepy true horror stories that happened on Christmas. This is by Mr. Nightmare. It's getting close to Christmas, and I thought, why not do some Christmassy stuff? Horror Christmassy stuff, even better. And I'm looking forward to this one. Let's jump in. Here we go.
Meeting my ex-girlfriend's family during the holidays was the worst weekend of my life. They lived in a different state than my ex Kaylee and I. We were on Long Island in New York. They were all the way up in Vermont. Our relationship was still kind of new, but she seemed to think it was serious enough for her parents to invite the two of us up there for Christmas.
Okay.
Kaylee had a really small family, so apparently it would be just the two of us, her brother, and her parents. Pulling up to the house was a pleasant surprise. The house was beautiful, and it stood on a huge, well-kept property secluded from any other houses. As Kaylee and I got out of my truck, her parents came out to the porch to greet us. First impressions, they seemed friendly and weird. An unexplainable type of friendly. The father didn't smile, but he shook my hand, patted me on the back, and said it was great to meet me. The mother hugged me, showing a lot more emotion, but something about her face was a bit off-putting. She had a really wide smile that seemed a bit exaggerated. The house was as beautiful inside as it was outside. It had a wooden lodge-type atmosphere to it. A little while later, I met Katie's brother Paul, who got home from work. He was a really socially awkward dude. He had a bowl cut and had a whole tattoo sleeve running up his arm.
Okay, who else thinks this reminds him of that movie, Get Out? Yeah? It's just too similar, you know? They haven't been dating very long. He's going to meet their parents for the first time, and things are weird. Get Out. Yeah. Sounds good to me.
Type atmosphere to it. A little while later, I met Katie's brother Paul, who got home from work. He was a really socially awkward dude. He had a bowl cut and had a whole tattoo sleeve running up his arm. We had dinner, which was awkward at certain moments, but other than that, it was kind of normal. After dinner, we watched a Christmas movie in the living room. I tried not to make eye contact, but I could tell Paul kept looking at me for extended periods of time, on a few different occasions. At one point, I finally looked back at him, and we locked eyes for like 3 seconds before he turned back to the TV. He was giving me the most judgmental stare I'd ever seen, and it made me only more uncomfortable. At the end of the night, Kaylee and I were in the guest room, which had an attached bathroom. Kaylee was in the bathroom. She left her phone on the nightstand. I saw she got a text from her mom, and for some reason, feeling a bit snoopy, I got up to read it. It was not at all what I was expecting, and it changed the whole night completely. Briefly on the screen, it said, "Text from Mom. Do you think he suspects anything yet?" But the message quickly switched to new message. I'm guessing because she had iMessage notifications set to hide once the phone locks.
What?
I wanted to read what was said before that, but her phone had a password, unfortunately. I could actually feel my heart pumping now. Kaylee came back into the room. I kind of gave her the cold shoulder because my mind was racing.
Okay. What this could be is just maybe they got him a present or something. Or something, this is Christmas time, So maybe they're just acting awkward because they're trying to hide something from him. But it's maybe a gift or something, or some kind of, maybe a holiday or something. Maybe the parents are paying for them to go away or something like that. You don't know, you know? it could just be something simple like that. But then, given the fact that this is a true horror story, I seriously doubt that's what it is.
My heart pumping now. Kaylee came back into the room. I kind of gave her the cold shoulder because my mind was racing. She seemed to notice. She was texting on her phone for a bit before turning out the lamp and going to sleep. I couldn't sleep though. I was rolling around for hours wondering what that text meant, and if it was about me. And what the hell was up with her brother? It was exactly 2 in the morning when I heard Kaylee get out of bed, but she was doing so very quietly. Normally I'd find this to be a kind gesture, but under the circumstances,
No.
I was finding this suspicious now.
Yes.
I didn't move. I pretended to still be asleep. I heard her come to my side of the bed and stand there for a few moments, then leaving the room and walking downstairs.
Okay.
Then I heard someone else walking downstairs, and then another person. Something was going on. I went over to the top of the stairs to listen to what was going on downstairs. There was a bunch of talking, but in very low voices. I walked down a few stairs quietly. The talking was coming from the dining room by the stairs. It sounded like they were planning something. I heard Kaylee say something like, "When I go back up, you stand by the door." Then I heard her brother say something, but what was going on was really starting to hit me in the face, or at least what I think was going on. I went back to the room to grab my stuff and leave. As I was grabbing the keys, I noticed something in the corner of the room. I turned the lamp on, which exposed Kaylee's dad sitting in a chair in the corner of the room, blank expression on his face behind his glasses, staring at me. I screamed at least 4 times, "You're all crazy," as I ran to my car. I put the car in drive practically before the car was even fully on, and floored it out of that long driveway back to the road. I didn't stop.
You know what would be really funny? If it actually turns out that he, it actually turns out it was just a gift. We were trying to, like, get him something or something like that. That would be funny. And he just misunderstood it all, you know?
I put the car in drive practically before the car was even fully on, and floored it out of that long driveway back to the road. I didn't stop once except for gas. And at that gas stop I checked my phone and saw Kaylee texted me saying, "What the fuck happened?" I didn't respond. Not until later that night when I got home. I said, "I don't know what you and your sick family were planning on doing to me. I don't want to know. Don't ever contact me or come near me again, and I won't report this." I said this only because I knew there was no proof at all of what happened, or what might have been about to happen. She never replied.
Story 2.
It was Christmas Eve night, 1 in the morning. I was in our den watching TV because I always like to stay up extra late on Christmas Eve. To make things more festive and cozy feeling, it was during a snowstorm. I left the window open and the backyard light on just so I could also have the view of the snow in the backyard. I was focused on the TV at the moment, but through my peripheral vision, I thought I could briefly see something in the backyard. I turned to the window, but besides the falling snow, there was nothing going on out there. Still, I got up and went to the window just to be sure. Nothing. I sat back down on the couch, but now I was constantly checking the window to see if anything was outside. About 10 minutes later, I calmed down and forgot about it and reverted my full attention back to the movie. Then I heard, loud and clear, the backyard gate slam shut. Now I almost knew someone was back there.
Yeah.
I slipped on my shoes and a jacket and went out to the backyard to check it out. There were boot marks in the snow leading from one gate across the yard to the other gate. I was not feeling brave enough to follow them, so I went back inside. As I was taking off my boots and jacket, I saw a track of wet, muddy snow on the den carpet, leading from the office to the hallway that led to the living room. That was also the way to my parents' room. First, I had to go to the office to see how they broke in, so I followed the boot marks to the office without turning on any lights to make my presence known. I was expecting to see one of the windows busted open, but everything was intact. Then I realized the boot marks didn't start in this room. They ended in this room.
Oh.
I slowly lifted my head up to the garage door in the corner of the room. It was open, and right under the doorway there was someone in a winter coat, jeans, and boots, squatting down as if trying to hide, back facing me, but his head turned to look at me. I stood there with my mouth open in horror for a few seconds before I ran for it to my parents' room, screaming the whole way there. I got my dad to come out as quickly as possible, and on our way to the garage together, we heard the...
I was gonna say that, because he said that he saw footprints going to his parents' room, and he went to the study or the office or something to see where they came from. You see footprints going to your parents' room, you don't go the opposite direction. You go and warn your parents. You say, hey, you know, I think somebody's in the house. Footprints leading to your, almost leading to your room. You would go, oh, you know what? They'll be fine. My parents will be fine. Yeah, I'll go and check the office to make sure it's okay. What? That kid needs a good slap. Seriously. You did what? You let him come near us without warning us first? Nope. There's an orphanage with your name on it. Just saying. Wow. They need to teach that kid what to do in a crisis. You do not leave people behind. You go, hey, I better go warn them first, then go check the office.
Ran for it to my parents' room, screaming the whole way there.
Bit late.
I got my dad to come out as quickly as possible, and on our way to the garage together, we heard the actual garage door opening. By the time we got there, the intruder was gone. Realistically, we could have followed his boot marks, but who knows how far he'd gotten by that point.
No.
We found out he
That's
broke in through an unlocked
for.
living room window. Just goes to show, if somebody has intentions of breaking into your house, they'll find a way. Which is why you should always lock all your doors and windows.
Tell you what, I've said this before in other videos, I think. It doesn't matter how secure your house is. Yeah? Locked windows and doors are just a deterrent. They're just a way to slow people down. And like he said, if they want to get in, they will get in. You know, there's no... You can't actually stop them from getting in. You know what I mean? They will do it. They will manage it. But your doors and your windows are there to slow them down. You know? I mean, deter them from trying to break in. That's also why you get alarms and things, you know?
Which is why you should always lock all your doors and windows. I'm the oldest of 4, and during the events of this story, I was 16, my younger sister was 11, and my 2 younger brothers were 8 and 7. My parents and their group of friends were a part of a club that was basically for rich, snobby people.
Ew.
The club always hosted a Christmas party one night in December each year at a big fancy firehouse. Of course, for all the younger kids, like my siblings, somebody would always dress up as Santa Claus and hand out the presents that were left in a sack by a chair, which had a red blanket over it. This year, my dad's best friend Michael was dressing up as Santa. He was sitting at the same table as us, so when the time came for him to leave and get changed into the Santa suit, I saw him get up and walk out the door. There were like 20 young kids there, they never noticed. Everyone was having a good time, chatting and whatnot, kids playing on the floor in the center of the room, when the door to the firehouse opened and bells were heard jingling. All the kids jumped up yelling Santa, and in came Michael in a surprisingly unimpressive Santa costume. It honestly looked like the cheapest thing he could find at Party City. A serious downgrade from last year. The hat and the beard were alright, but the costume just seemed cheap. Not the usual costume the club supplied. He chuckled and did his best Santa impression. I had to say, he was doing a really good job of changing his voice though. I saw a few of my parents' friends whispering to each other. Michael grabbed the bag of gifts and said in his best Santa voice he'd be right back with the presents. He sounded so different though. He walked out the door with the bag of gifts. That's when my dad and a couple other guys ran after him yelling, "Hey."
Yeah, I was just about to say that. It's not him. It's not Michael. As he said, he sounded different. It's some guy dressed up. We knocked him out, took the Santa suit off him, and we then just grabbed the bag of presents and walked out the door with her. That's it. That's what it is. That's crazy.
He sounded so different though. He walked out the door with a bag of gifts. That's when my dad and a couple other guys ran after him yelling, "Hey." I still didn't know what was going on. Not until my mom told me that wasn't Michael. I wanted to feel important, I guess, so I ran outside to the parking lot as well, where I found my dad and two other guys standing there, looking around dumbfounded. The man dressed as Santa was gone.
He had a car waiting
The real
for him.
thing they were concerned about was where Michael was. Michael's car was also missing. I asked them if they were sure that wasn't Michael. They were all positive though. We tried calling Michael, but his phone was off. We tried his house phone after a while too, which went to voicemail. We had to send a search party, but we couldn't find him anywhere though. Eventually my dad and I returned to the firehouse to pick up my mom and siblings. Just about everyone went home by then.
He's still there.
I waited outside. I heard a scream for help in the distance. It came from the woods, deep in the woods. I ran to the tree line to scream back Michael's name. He yelled back help again. It was him. I was too excited to go back for my dad, so I ran into the woods following his screams for help, and I found him, tied to a tree in a bloody mess. Blood was dripping from his forehead down to his face. He looked like he'd been beaten by a blunt object.
Because he probably was.
I cut the little rope with my key, and he struggled to his feet. I walked him back to the parking lot, and he screamed when he saw his car was gone. When Michael left the building planning to get changed into the Santa costume, he was jumped by 3 guys wearing masks, one of whom struck him in the forehead with something metal repeatedly until he was knocked out. Next thing he knew, he woke up tied to a tree in the woods. It's sick to think that 3 or 4 men could have set up a plan like this, involving harming somebody just to steal a bunch of gifts from children, some of them pretty expensive. And to add insult to injury, they stole Michael's $50,000 car. I felt terrible for him, and I still do. It's not the kind of story that he can just bring up for fun. It's still a painful story to tell. Even for me.
Well, that's why they took the presents. They were expensive. They took the car because they're like a $50,000 car. You know? But again, I know what happened was horrible, and what happened to that guy was horrible. It's still hard to feel sorry for rich people when they get stuff stolen. I mean, obviously, the guy who was hurt, feel sorry for him. You know what I mean? Because he was actually physically harmed. That's terrible. You know, that even happened. But as far as rich people getting stuff stolen, I know it was for kids and all that, fair enough. But again, something tells me they'll be fine. You know? Something tells me their parents can afford it. But still, horrible story. Sure. Okay. That is the end of the video. And, yeah, that's a good one. I liked it. I don't know when he released it. Oh, was this? No, it was last. No, 2017. But I hope I haven't done it yet. I don't think I have. Oh, there's another one. Huh. Okay. Until next time, I am out of here.